2241. This call is completely confidential. And if you have private insurance, there could be little to no cost to you. Even if you've already been to treatment, give them a call. There's no need to let drugs and alcohol ruin your life. Take the first step now. Call the True Sobriety Hotline at 800-550-2241. That's 800-550-2241. 800-550-2241. These statements are not medical advice. True Sobriety Hotline is a third-party network of treatment centers and placement services.
1450 WOL, Washington, W240J,
They coming in.
95.9 WPRS HD2, Waldorf, WKYS HD, Washington, WMMJ HD2, Bethesda, and worldwide at WOLHDnews.com. The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated,
Ronnie
or their
Ford.
management.
Let's figure it out on the Archie Beslow radio show. He cares, he shares, he knows. The journey of our youth is in our control. So tell your family and tell your friends that the word on the street is we all should listen in. So let's figure it out on the Archie Beslow radio show.
Well, guess what? Today is Father's Day. So I want to first by starting my show off by thanking all the fathers, all of you guys that have touched someone's heart, that has led by example, and even the dads that are struggling out here that have a testimony. And the ones that have a testimony that are not doing so great, that need a helping hand and need someone to uplift them and pick them up, use your testimony to bring change to other dads that are out here. None of us are perfect, but what I do know, we all have a story where we can help one another to become great. I want to first start off, like I always do, by thanking God for this platform to bring change to society, to change the families, the youth, communities, and families. I also want to thank my mom and my dad. I want to give a special shout out to my dad today. It's funny, after coming to the radio show, me and my sons went over to my dad's house to have a Father's Day gathering. And just like clockwork, as soon as I stepped on the premises, my father went straight into being my dad. And what I mean by that is he went straight into keeping me on point, reiterating the things that he told me over the last 50 years. One thing what I love about my father has always been consistent. You may not agree to everything that he says or how he puts it down, but at the end of the day, his tactics are very well received because he is responsible for creating the man that I am today. And I want to publicly thank my dad for doing that. There are a lot of things that your dads tell you in the course of your living and your life that you always cringe upon. And, you know, you may say, why is this dude always wrapping me up? Why is this dude, you know, am I doing right in this guy's eyes? Am I that bad of a kid? At the end of the day, your father's not here to judge you whether you're bad or good. Your fathers are here. Their main roles are here to make sure that you're consistent on your path to growth. And Dad, I want to tell you, and I know you're probably listening, I thank you for staying on me. It's tough, but I appreciate you, man. I love you. And again, I just want to thank, you know, all the dads, active dads and inactive dads. An inactive dad is a conversation away from being an active dad. We got to stop bashing our fathers whom an individual thinks is not doing their part. There's a reason why people do what they do. And in a lot of cases, some people don't even know why they are acting the way that they are acting. But there are also family members and friends that saw where this pattern began. And you were hesitant in pulling that person up to say, hey, I see your traits, I see your tendencies, I see where you're going wrong. But do you ever pull that person up and have that conversation with them? Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to regret down the road that dad, that uncle, that grandfather turned out, well, I'll leave that for another show. So, happy Father's Day. And we're going to get into the show. You guys know Archie Beslow has a radio show. I'm very excited, and I get to pick my guests. Go figure. So this gentleman that's in the studio with me today is my longtime, he used to be my lieutenant on the police department. And I was just, man, it was just kind of chopping it up on me. I was also thanking him on the structure that he brought to our unit. To me, he epitomizes how a manager should be, how a supervisor should be. He allowed us to grow. He allows us to use our own ideas. He showed us support. He showed us tough love. Now, his tough love is not like the average tough love. You think somebody get up in your face and fuss at you. His tough love was more of the silent treatment type thing. And do you feel my vibe? And I learned, and I actually implement that in the way I coach. You know, people are who they are because they picked up something from someone that actually inspired them. And back then he was Lieutenant Gibson, but this evening on the Archie Beslow radio show, I'm going to introduce you to Chief Gibson. Can you say hello to the listening audience, sir?
Good evening, Archie Beslow. Thank you for having me on the show.
So, Chief Gibson, before we get into the nitty-gritty of what we're going to talk about, kind of give, I tease the Chief a lot because he is a highly decorated person, and I had asked him prior to us talking to give me his bio. When I tell you that brother had a 3-page bio. And the funny thing about it is, the work that he put in, it pays dividends to the type of person that he is. Because he's the type of guy that's always learning and always trying to help people. So if you can, please, hey, man, tell the people who you are, what you represent, what you're about, man.
All right. Thank you, Archie. I appreciate you having me on. First of all, I'd like to say happy Father's Day to all of those who are within the sound of my voice. For those who do not know me, my name is Elliott Gibson. I'm the police chief in the city of District Heights, and I have been in law enforcement and public safety for over 40 years. That's a very, very long time.
Yes, it is.
I was born and raised in Southeast Washington, D.C., in an area called Fort DuPont, which borders Ridge Road in Southeast. And I graduated Eastern High School, went on to University of District of Columbia. After I left college, I joined the Metropolitan Police Department, where I was blessed to do 25 years of credible service. When I left the police department, I was hired by a company as their director of training and development because of my background teaching. And I did that for a while, and I left there and I became the program manager of school security in Washington, D.C. Okay. When I left there, I was the program manager for the Department of Defense Police Department. And I did that for a while, and I just done so many different things, and I wound up going to Baltimore at the director of security at a large hospital system. And once I left there, I became the chief of police in the city of District Heights, and that's what I'm doing presently. All
right, there you have it. He gave you guys the modest, because he didn't get into the certificates. And we got Charles Jones on the air. Chief, what's up, Charles? Got your man in here. Yeah, he kind of gave my man Anderson said, "Good job, Chief Elliott." So he didn't give you all his certificates and all that good things because he's a humble cat. But what we're going to touch on today, the title of this show is going to be called Best Practices Interacting with Law Enforcement. Woo, that's a topic. And like I tell you guys, the radio show, I can have a radio show just for whatever reason. But the purpose of the show is to inform people and also give you guys some ammunition and some type of solutions and resources to help others. Best practices interacting with law enforcement. This is how the show is going to go. We oftentimes want to know our rights. We want to know, why is the police searching our cars? Why did he have to grab me like that? Why is he following me? Why? The calling number is 800-450-7876, 1-800-450-7876. Please feel free and call in and talk about some of your encounters with police officers and how did you handle it, or even if you have questions on how you should handle it, please give us a call. So, Chief, we want you to just actually segue into this show and kind of inform people of what their best practices should be interacting with law enforcement.
Thank you, Archie. I appreciate that. Over the past few years, I have been approached by school principals, church pastors, civic association leaders, and they just asked the question, what should we do as a citizen, as a resident, as it relates to our interaction with the police? And having years and years of experience, I was able to share a lot of information, a lot of helpful information, if you will, that allows folks to just gain some insight into how the police think, because it's very important for you to know how they think, and that helps guide you if you should happen to be stopped. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to share a few statistics. On average, the police come in contact with 80 million people each year. That's a lot of interactions where either there's a traffic stop, and 41 million of those are traffic stops where somebody is issued a citation. And the other part is someone calling the police because the alarm is sounding, they're reporting a theft or some other crime, and as a result, they're not forced to, but they are interacting with the police every day. And so you need to know how to interact with the police just to make that interaction go smooth. Here's the one thing that I share with just about everybody. Your goal should be, during a traffic stop, to end the interaction as quickly as is possible. Let's just say this. For example, you're driving down the street, you look in your rearview mirror, you see blue and red lights and a siren indicating that the police are behind you. What we're asking you to do is put your signal on, pull over to the curb and stop. Once you've stopped, you put the car in park, turn the car off, and then we want you to just keep your hands on the steering wheel or someplace where they are easy to be seen. Doesn't have to necessarily be on the dashboard or on the steering wheel, but just so they can be seen. And then if it's dark outside or reduced visibility, say it's raining or something, we just ask you to turn the light on inside of the car and roll the window down so that you can hear the officer and the officer can hear you. There are just so many things that happen. For example, some folks, and this happens a lot, some folks are driving. They don't have a driver's license, the tag's expired, the car could possibly be stolen, and the individual isn't going to cooperate. Well, officers who've been working for a while, they understand these kinds of things, and they may call for another officer to back them up. Mm-hmm. And so now you have two officers who are, involved in a traffic stop where we're trying to determine whether the individual has a valid operator's license, vehicle registration, and insurance card, and all of those things are current. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are moving around, and those things aren't current, and they know it at the time they see the flashing light, and so then that interaction begins.
So I'm quite sure. Thanks a lot too, Chief. I'm quite sure a lot of my listeners. So at this stage of the game, society, whether we want to accept it or not, has created a citizens against police type of campaign without it actually being launched. And my point is, we have the average citizen has apprehensions on how to conduct themselves when they are pulled over by police officers. Now, what you said is a valid point, and I need callers to call in, 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876 to voice your opinion. What do you tell, and you pretty much gave them instructions on how to go about it, which is perfect. What do you tell that hostile individual that's anti-police anyway? Let them know the harm and dangers that they put themselves in when they get pulled over with that mindset.
All too often, individuals who are stopped are, and we expect that. They're nervous, they're agitated, they're a little upset. A lot of folks in a hurry. They're trying to get to work. They do work at 9 o'clock. It's 8:45 and they get stopped. And so when the officer approaches the window, automatically they're agitated. They are aggressive. And then it transposes to the officer, and it causes the officer to act or react a certain kind of way. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that we're asking is, let's end this interaction as quickly as is possible. And here's something that folks don't really understand about this traffic stop business. The police officer who is issuing a citation does not get the last word with respect to whether you were in violation or not. A judge or magistrate, a neutral person, gets to hear the case. The last thing I would want to see is a person on the side of the road standing, arguing with an officer about whether he or she passed a stop sign, ran a red light, or was speeding. If someone accuses you of that, you have to say to yourself, well, we'll let somebody neutral get involved. I don't think anybody has had any experience where if you start arguing with a police officer, the officer says, oh yeah, you're right, and go back and get in the car and pull off. That generally doesn't happen. And so let's do our due diligence and try to end the interaction. I understand. I don't agree with you. I will pursue this matter at a later time and be on your way.
And I've talked on, thanks Chief, I've talked on previous shows about your demeanor as an individual. If your demeanor is one such as a professional or respectful demeanor, if a law enforcement officer pulls you over, have the respect knowing that that is an actual law enforcement officer. You have to respect the badge. If you're involved in a bad tail light or any misdemeanor or miscellaneous reason for getting pulled over, and you know you're not guilty of anything worse than that, then by all means, like the chief is saying, just comply. And at the end of the day, if it's something that has to go to the courts, well, you're going to be free to go home and you can deal with it in the courts. So I'll say 9 times out of 10, there's something happened. I mean, I know there are some cops out here that's going to, I don't even want to get into that because I can't say what other cops are doing without even going in. But 9 times out of 10, if you're pulled over, there's a reason for you being pulled over. For instance, people get pulled over for tint. Now, as officers, they don't have this magic wand when they say, okay, it's 35, 40% tint. They're going to pull you over with tint because tint in itself is probable cause to pull you over. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief.
Yes, sir. And basically in Maryland as well as Washington, D.C. and Virginia, the tint standard is 35%. That means the amount of light that is able to get in or out of the car. And if your tint is 34 and below, you're in violation of the law. And you may get a notice to go to an inspection station and demonstrate that you are in compliance with the law.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to say that sometimes the officer may not have a tint meter, but the standard is, can the officer see your face from outside the car?
All right, well, we're going to stop you right there, Chief. We got to pay some bills. And when we come back, I got my man Miguel on the line, a dynamite young man, a very interesting dynamite young man. So when we come back, Brother Miguel will be on the line. And we also finish our discussion with Chief. WO 95.9 FM, 1450 AM, WODCnews.com. This is the Archie Beslow Radio Show. Let's figure it out. We'll be right back. That's okay. Got my man Chief Kevin Anderson, sir.
Good afternoon, young man.
Hey, we need you guys to actually call in 800-450-7876. You guys know how I start my show off. I started off light, but when we come back, we're going to actually pick up and talk about some of the tough questions and tough situations that people are getting in. And a lot of it is just not being informed, right, Chief? They're not being informed and they're not instructed. People are not you don't know how to react when the police pull you over. The first thing we do is we get on the defense. And getting on the defense is not always, well, it's definitely not best practice to get on the defense. But yeah, man, this is a very interesting topic. Very interesting topic. But call in. Like I tell you guys, you got to call in so that the listeners across the country can also chime in as well. We're talking best practices interacting with law enforcement. We know, especially for the young cats. And like I always tell you guys, this show is definitely for our young people. Charles, say hello, Chief.
Hey, how you doing, Charles? Good hearing from you. Always a pleasure.
We coming back. Back. Welcome back. This is the Archie Beslow Radio Show. Let's figure it out. And my in-studio guest is Chief Gibson from the good old District Heights. Also, we have a very dynamic young man. Brother Miguel, you on the line? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
This is the Archie Beslow Radio Show. First of all, Miguel, I want to thank you for my lovely officer-friendly book that I got in the mail the other day, man. I want to thank you. I'm so proud of you, man. And please keep doing the job that you're doing. You hear me?
Thank you.
Also, I got so we have Chief Gibson in the studio, Miguel. I saw that you had a chance to have a conversation with Chief Newsham. Why don't you run a couple of things by Chief Gibson that he may can answer and help you as well?
About how we can help the community with gun violence and gang violence, and how we can stop riots and racism around D.C. and the DMV area.
I got you. You hear that, Chief?
Yes. That's like a 5-part question, but I'll jump right in there. One of the things that we have to understand, and I hate to say it, but statistics bear this fact out. We are what we call a dangerous society. Mm-hmm. Last year alone, 14,000 people were killed by someone else. 20,000 people took their own life. And so we have to deal with that. And some of these things are because of folks being aggressive, and some are some mental health issues. But this platform has always been about sharing information and trying to bring younger people around to the point where they can see at a very early age things they need to be doing that are right and or appropriate. People don't make a decision to start being aggressive and violent when they're 40 years old. Generally, these things start at a very early age. And I'm saying that we have to have, and it cannot be just the police, social services, schools, and others, church groups, civic groups involved in having programs for our young people that keep them busy. There's an old saying my father used to say, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Mm-hmm. When you look up in a neighborhood and you see 5- and 6-year-olds riding their bicycle in the middle of the street, and nobody's looking after them to make sure that they're not doing dangerous things. Those small things start you on the right path. Everybody takes a village to raise a child. And those are the things that help us move along to get where we need to be as we move forward.
You got it, Miguel?
Yeah.
So, Miguel, so right now, you're chief of the DMV. First of all, Miguel, how old are you? What's your age?
12.
You're 12. He's a 12-year-old dynamite young man. So right now, I've just appointed you to be the chief of police for the entire DMV. What will be your first choice of actions to implement change?
Reducing marketing, illegal marketing.
Okay.
And police brutality.
Okay. So how do you think we? So how do you? So what are some of the things your peers talk to you about as it relates to bad police officers? What do you hear as a 12-year-old young man?
From my friends, I hear about it.
Take your time. You good? Hey, go ahead, Yolanda. You can help him. It's okay.
Some of your friends talk about how there's good at the police, and you tell them what. All police officers are not bad, and some police officers are, like, most of the police officers are good, some are bad.
Okay.
So you shouldn't be afraid of police officers. They're really a great help in the community.
Outstanding. So what's your definition as a young man, as a 12-year-old, of a bad police officer, Miguel? First thing come to mind.
Example. Basically someone that doesn't do the right thing in your community, and you just want to shoot up people just for no reason.
Okay. So what are some of the best police officers? What is a good police officer?
Helping your community and doing more community policing.
All right. Well, so thank you for that call. And you know your show is coming up in a couple of weeks. I just want to get my audience a tidbit of Brother Miguel. Can you please tell my listening audiences about your books before we go?
You can buy them off of Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Just look up The Adventures of Fireman or Friendly Officers.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys, and I'll be reaching out to you guys soon. And thank you so much for calling in.
Okay. Thank you for having us.
Outstanding. All right. Goodbye. Take care.
Bye.
All right. So Chief, I did that for, and you know where I'm going with that. At the end of the day, adults, my radio show is filled with adult listeners. At some point, and you just touched on it, the whole village aspect, we have to incorporate and include our young people into wholesome, quality conversations about law enforcement officers. There are a lot of people that got in harm's way, and we weren't there to see why they got shot or why they got robbed or any of that thing. But I also know that there's not enough knowledge that our youngins are getting to know how to conduct themselves when they're confronted by the police.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing, and thank Miguel for his commentary.
That's right. Yes, sir.
We have, as parents, a duty. A lot of times the parents want to deflect all of this learning on the schools, and they wonder why the schools aren't doing anything. If the student spends, 700 and some odd hours in school during the school year, and they spend thousands of hours at home, who is actually spending more time? It is the parent. And the parent has that duty and responsibility to ensure that they're nurturing a child to become a productive member of society. Here's the catch. How does the parent do it if the parent doesn't have those skill sets either?
There you go.
So then we get in that posture where we have these young parents. In my working neighborhood, we have parents who are 17 years old, and they have a 3-year-old and another little one in a stroller, and they're supposed to be teaching them how to survive in this world. And it's just a tough situation, and there has to be that intervention. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to see themselves as taking an active part in ensuring that we bring our young people along. They're productive members of society. They stay busy, and they're doing those things that help them grow and mature as they get older. Because once you get in trouble and you're 12 and you're 13 years old, generally, society will kind of cast you on the side. You may find yourself in reform school, or you got some kind of record. And if you don't have a record, you have a reputation. That's what carries you. And if you got a reputation for being one who skips school, isn't interested in classroom activity, is talking back or talking down to an administrator, you have that reputation. And we, as parents and guardians, have a duty to make sure that we're nurturing them early on.
Mm-hmm. So when we as an officer, as a retired officer, the way I interacted with the community, I always gave respect to the bad guy, the good guy, or the guy that's indifferent because of my profession. My job, I didn't go on the oath to judge people. I raised my hand to go on the oath to actually execute the laws of D.C., not to judge people. What I learned dealing with people on the streets, Chief, is the respect that I gave them, they gave me respect in return, no matter how bad the individual was. And my thing is where I think citizens go wrong, Chief, and you can correct me because you're actually active. The citizens go wrong because, like I say, their body posture off the break, they're coming at the officers as if they're expecting all officers to be bad. So you're actually putting, and the officers are humans as well. You can actually intimidate an officer and have an officer fearful of what your next tactic is going to be. So I guess my point is, Chief, that sometimes you are initiating a bad officer to be a bad officer.
I agree with some of what you have said, but there's a caveat here.
Okay.
On average, most people in our society only come in contact with the police maybe 5 times in their lifetime.
Okay.
Most of the information they have about law enforcement officers and public safety officers is something they may have heard from someone else, something they saw on television, or something they may have read in the newspaper. They don't have any actual experience, but at the time they happen to come in contact with the police or they're stopped, they may have this attitude about, why have you stopped me? And then the relationship starts going downhill from there. But let me just say this. There are times when officers are heavy-handed in the dispatch of their police duty. They are a little loud, a little aggressive, a little condescending, and those kind of things. Those are the kinds of conducts I would like to see shared with an administrator in a law enforcement agency. Because we want to know if somebody, a law enforcement officer, cursed while having a conversation with you, or was pointing his finger, or said a few things that you perceive to be disrespectful. We'd like you to come on into the station and share that information. Now, some people want to come into the station and share the fact that they got a ticket for, passing a stop sign or something. That is within the jurisdiction of the court. But if during the time that the ticket is issued, the motorist believes that the person was, aggressive, pointing a finger, saying things that were demeaning to the person, we want to know about it.
The number again is 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876. This is Archie Beslow Radio Show. Let's figure it out. I have Chief Gibson in studio with me, the Chief of District Heights Police Station. So I talk to a lot of young men and young ladies on a regular basis just about life. But what I do get from them is that the moms and dads are not talking to them on how to interact with law enforcement. I'm going to go one better. The moms and dads are not even talking to them how to interact with their superiors, whether it be a teacher, an administrator, an adult, or what have you. What we don't realize, it can be an umbrella conversation because at the end of the day, we have to teach our kids respect. So from teaching respect, then you can go into the individualities of how should you conduct yourself around a police officer, how you should conduct yourself around an administrator or teacher or even an older person. When we came up, Chief, respect was respect. If we didn't like the police or not, we didn't outwardly say disrespectful things to the police, or we didn't just automatically run or just do anything to put ourselves in harm's way. What we did was, for that moment, we stopped and thought about the principles that our family members put in us before we react to anyone.
I understand that. Over the past 2 weeks, I have visited about 10 schools. And we go in, they had career week. And we go in and we're talking to the 5, 6, 7-year-olds as well as the 10, 11, 12-year-olds. And one of the first things we ask the young people, 5 or 6 year olds, we say, let me see your hand if you want to be a law enforcement officer. Mm-hmm. When they're 5 or 6 year old, everybody raises their hand. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a policeman. But when you go into the classroom and they're 10, 11 year old, half of them put their hand up. Right. And as you get older, you know, because I went to 2 high schools this past fall, and you asked the question, you know, maybe about 10 or 15 of them put their hand up. Another 500, they have their hands in their lap. Right. Like, I don't know if I want to get in that business. But most of the information is about things that they have heard from other people where they don't actually have any personal knowledge about some bad situation that may have occurred with them.
All right. We're gonna go to the line. Let's go to retired Captain Kevin Anderson. Kevin, you on there?
Yes, sir. What's happening, my brother?
How you doing, sir?
Man, I had to call in when I saw Smooth talking, my former captain and colleague and mentor, and you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Call and say a little something about what's going on.
What's up, Kevin?
What's happening, Chief?
You, man, you.
One of the things that I like to say about this whole thing is, you guys know, Melvin and I have done a few Facebook Live and things with this same topic. But one of the things I say, I don't say it as smooth as Chief Gibson, but I tell all my people, particularly African American ladies or men, your job is to come home from that encounter with a police officer. As me doing 29 years of service, I understand that things not going to always go smooth. And one of the best things Chief Gibson said is there's never a time we've seen where the police officer will back down and get back in his car. Right. That's the most racist officer, in your opinion, most harassing, the worst. We need you to come back home. We can deal with that person, that police officer. We know how to deal with that. And I'm talking on a personal note. We can deal with whatever that officer did wrong, what's it wrong about his rights. I tell my nephew, nieces, all of them, I need you guys to come back home, and let's deal with that when we get back home.
Okay. All right, Brother Kevin. And that's facts.
And I appreciate you guys. Happy Father's Day to both you guys. You want to say that because you talk so much about the interactions with police.
Yes, sir.
People are always doing this thing now where they're putting the cameras in the police face and talking trash and those things. And what I tell them is use that phone, that cell phone recording as a tool to help you get out of that situation and make sure everything goes right.
Okay.
So that's all I wanted to point out to everyone. I appreciate you guys for having me. Archie, you know you're my brother.
Yes, sir.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you, fam. Thanks for calling in, Kevin.
Right. Thank you, man.
All right.
All right.
We got another call on the line. Is that Brother Ben?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Good evening, sir. Thanks for calling the Archie Beslow Show.
Good, well, I'll be brief. Hey, look, and hello to your guests as well.
All right.
Hey, I just want to say this. When you look at policing in America as it stands today, unlike in the 90s when I was patrolling the streets in MPD or what have you, society has changed. It's to a point where mental health, mental illness is a major factor along with socioeconomic, systematic stuff that's going on as it relates to racism and other things. But what's happening now is, and the reason why I believe this situation will get worse before it gets better, is that unfortunately the police, the people that are in public safety, regardless of what their job is, they're in a situation that they're not equipped to deal with. What I mean by that is, you have thrown a police officer, a young officer, or what have you, in a situation that they're not equipped to deal with. And what I mean is, the mental health illness, the therapeutic part, the front end stuff that has to be done, which will require more structural society change. Mm-hmm. Police can't solve these problems out here on the street. They're not going to. These encounters are going to increase because they're becoming frustrated.
Right.
And they're more just as much as a victim in this whole system as the guys on the street are. And I consider both sides of the law today to be victims of a failed society that has to change. Because even if the jail systems are no more than warehouses when they need to be hospitals. You know, it's just, this has to be a wholesale change in dealing with the issues out here on the street. And it's not going to be done with a pair of handcuffs and a nightstick.
Right.
And a jail cell. So
Ben, and I want you to complete your thought, but I just want to interact. So for years we know what society has done for the masses, whether you've been an adult, a kid, whomever. But what we need to engage people at home. Everything starts in the house, Ben. And it starts with that prominent, and I say this on all my shows, it starts with that prominent family member that's doing well. If that prominent family member steps up and just frequently call the teenagers or the young adults in their family and just check on them and give them advice or wisdom, that can start us on a path of people understanding how to interact with individuals and how to be respectful citizens and how to even live longer. At the end of the day, this country is going the way it's going because of lack of respect across the board. There's a lack of respect and there's a lack of spiritual wellness on their hearts.
And when you say spiritual wellness, you hit that. That's it. That's my point right there. You know, that's what has to change. And
right.
That's the more difficult thing to approach and deal with.
Well, it should be, man.
A police can't solve that problem.
Right, and so
I think we depend too much on the police officer who's most of them, and I'm not knocking my own profession, but we don't have mental health professional training on how to. I mean, we can de-escalate a person who's about to strike us or whatever,
right.
To that effect. But I mean, when you get to the root of the anger, where's it coming from? That's the part the system has to be restructured to deal with. The individual can do our part,
right?
But there has to be a system, because we at some point on the day we got to hand our kids over to a system.
Yeah, and that
system has to change.
So, and like I said, and I'm with you. And the whole changing of the system is within your families. So now, like my sons, you know, and of course they're blessed to have a dad in law enforcement, but I tell them how to conduct themselves. I also tell the kids that I mentor how to conduct themselves and what they expect. There's someone in a household that can tell the young man or the young lady what's right and what's wrong, especially as it pertains to law enforcement. And the key word is respect. You don't even need a long, drawn-out conversation about how to interact with any officer or any respectful adult. It's just respecting itself. I think, Chief, you want to engage in something? Chief wrote down some notes.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in for a minute, and I thank the caller for his commentary. The police have a specific mission. The mission is public safety. If the police happen to, and I don't care whether it's in the 80s or 90s or 2018, if there's an occasion where a breach of the peace occurs, the police have to come in and make sure that they do something to keep the peace. If we happen to go into an apartment or a home and someone is suffering from some mental illness, which happens every single day. It doesn't happen every now and then. It happens every day. We have policies, and so the officer has to understand what his role is in dealing with a person who suffers from some mental illness, paranoid schizophrenia, or they're hallucinating, whether they're on drugs or otherwise. And so we have a number of officers take the individual to a car, we take them to the closest medical facility and have a licensed practitioner evaluate the individual. So we just want to make sure that we exercise our due diligence so we don't hurt the person during this particular time where we're transporting them from their home or on the street to some medical facility. I just wanted to interject that.
All right, Ben. Well, as always, man, I thank you for calling in. I thank you for supporting the show, man. And we're going to get it together. I truly believe we're going to get it together, champ.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. All right. Chief?
Yes. I just wanted to jump in a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
This segment is about best practices interacting with law enforcement. Over the last 2 years, I developed a pamphlet that has 25 distinct solutions if you want to help to interact with law enforcement. And I've said this, I was talking to Archie earlier, about de-escalation is a two-way street. If the officer's trying to diffuse a situation and the person he's interacting with is yelling, screaming, swinging, and doing all these other kinds of things, then no calm will come, and it just gets out of hand. Mm-hmm. And so I was just sharing that I developed this pamphlet, and we have it at our station for folks to come in and pick it up, and you start going through it. And it's especially important for our young people. Some young people have never come in contact with the police. Now all of a sudden they're 16 years old, they're driving on the roads in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, and the police stops them. They don't understand what they should be doing. They get nervous because the police are behind them making a little noise and got the lights going. And so we want to make sure that our young people understand what they should and should not be doing. So we're asking the parents, also the folks who work in the motor vehicle administration, make sure that they have developed, and this is something that I'm trying to get introduced as part of new driving information, that they learn the do's and don'ts of interacting with the police during the course of a traffic stop. Mm-hmm. And if we can get that done, we'll be way ahead of the game.
So, Chief, is that something, do you think, well, I know you don't think, but why don't police departments actually have set up like maybe once a week or twice a week to identify even the guys that are getting in trouble, to have them come and sit down in one of those conference rooms and say, hey, look, this is how you should act when you either pulled over by the cops or you feel a certain way. And like you're saying, a lot of our youth are not properly informed, and even adults. What we do is I see a lot of times people that participate in things like that are people that don't really need it. So we have to find a way to get those I don't want to say bad guys, or just people that need that information, because they was actually sit in a police district and actually be taught, if you get pulled over, do X, Y, Z. And you'd be surprised how many lives will be changed, because like you said, Chief, a lot of them are acting off of impulse. They're acting off of what they see or what the people that have no knowledge of this stuff tells them, and they just act on it.
Every school I know in the state of Maryland, high school, has a driver education program. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be a worthwhile endeavor if we could have these kinds of pamphlets introduced into the classroom as part of the curriculum. Interacting with the police, some of the do's and don'ts, how to pull over, how to keep calm, where to put your hands, ensuring. We have young people that are driving right now. They don't even have a driver's license, much less know where the vehicle registration and the insurance card is. They're fumbling through the glove box. How many times have you seen your glove box empty? It's filled with junk, and you're sorting through there trying to find the vehicle registration. And it just frustrates the driver even more, and it causes you also have to go back and maybe cite you for failing to exhibit the vehicle registration and the insurance card. And if we could have that introductory in driver training where we're talking about these kinds of things, it will go a long way. Some people aren't interested.
Right, and so wow, this God's always working. He always getting into these shows. Like Chief just said, some people aren't interested, and the people that are not interested, it's not even about the police topic we're talking about. It's about just life in general. If you was to sit down with your child and talk to them about best practices on how to conduct yourself when you're getting pulled over, even the knowledge you know as an adult, pass it on. But adults don't talk about that to their kids until their kids get in trouble.
Absolutely.
That's
and they're trying to figure out
how to get out
of it.
So just like you Google and research everything else, and like I said, once again, these shows are informative shows. Sit down with your youngster, whether it be your son or your daughter, and Google how should you, or stop past District Heights and pick up a pamphlet from Chief. Chief got, I'm quite sure he got a whole bunch of them.
Right.
Utilize your resources, people, because utilizing your resources will keep you alive, keep your family alive, give you peace of mind, and will allow you to actually enjoy Father's Day.
Absolutely.
If you live, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just doing the right things. So, Chief, speak on something that we haven't covered, because I know you have a lot of knowledge about the situation.
All right. Some of our young people are riding around in cars smoking what we call that irresponsible. Once they smoke it, they act irresponsibly. And they don't actually know what the law says about smoking, using, possessing a controlled substance, especially in public or in a vehicle. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit. In the state of Maryland, they passed a new drug law in 2015. If you have a certain amount, less than 10 grams, 1 gram would be the equivalent of 1 marijuana cigarette. I know some of you know about marijuana cigarettes. And if you have between 1 and 9 grams of marijuana, you're going to get a citation. If you have 10 grams in your possession, you'll be going to jail. Some folks don't know. They say, well, I thought it was legal now. No, it's not legal. And in the District of Columbia, you can smoke it, or you could be in your house and you could be using it. But in the public, if you are seen with, I think it's 2 ounces in Washington, D.C., you'll be going to jail. And if you're under 18, you'll be going to jail. And so we're just trying to discourage folks from doing it. And then we have people who say, hey, you can't search my car. Well, the law says if there's the strong odor of marijuana emanating from the vehicle is subject to search under our probable cause statute. A set of facts, circumstances, or reliable information that would lead a reasonable officer to believe a crime has been committed. The officer's going to search the car. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just trying to make sure that everybody understands that. And if you don't do it, then you don't have to worry about whether the officer's going to stop you, pull everybody out of the car, and then start going through the car looking for the marijuana. We stopped the car the other day, 4 young men in the car. There was so much smoke in the car, you couldn't even see their face. And they in there, a couple of them had them dippers. Right. If you know what the dipper is, I don't know what the dipper is. I don't know what it is. They take the cigarette and dip it into a little liquid PCP, right, and then they smoke it, and it causes them to hallucinate just a bit, if you will. Right. And we wind up having to take those folks, because they're incoherent, to the hospital, put them in a padded room, and let them come down a little bit. And we deal with that every single day. Out in the street, the young people call it butt naked. It makes them hot, and they feel a need to take their clothes off and walk around in the street, and then the police have to deal with them. Right. So we're just asking folks not to partake in these controlled dangerous substances.
All right, Chief. We covered a lot. So oftentimes, my parents, they ask me, how do I know if and this is within the same topic. Because I like giving solutions. How do you know if my son or daughter is getting high? Well, you should know if your son or daughter is getting high because their tendencies change. And also, this is not a scare tactic, but it's nothing but facts. If you actually start sitting down with your son or your daughter and actually pull up statistics on how it's going to affect your job, how it affects your brain cells, how it affects your health, you'll be surprised. Kids, when you actually show them facts, kids will receive facts and documentation before they receive the words that are coming out your mouth as an adult. So that's a solution that I've used in the past, and it actually works. If you don't know the answers, don't try to just make up a story to just get by. Reach out, call somebody, get some resources, call somebody like Chief Gibson, call the local police department in your jurisdiction. Actually Google it, seek help, get counseling. But at the end of the day, we as adults have to put forth we have to initiate something to bring change in our households. So, Chief, we got 3 minutes. I want you to give me some parting words for our listeners, and then I'll close out after that.
Thank you, Archie. First of all, I'd like to thank you for all that you do. This platform is just another opportunity for you to share information and also for individuals to share information about things that are going on in our society that we might better be able to communicate some concrete results to do something positive. So I just want to thank you for having me come on, and hopefully I'll come back in the future because I study a lot of different kinds of things that occur in our society, and maybe next time we can get together, We can talk about Sandra Bland from down in Prairie View, Texas. We can talk about Michael Brown. We can talk about Eric Garner. We can talk about Philando Castile. We can talk about Eric Garner up in New York City. All of these folks died at the hands of police. All of these folks were unarmed at the time. And so I want to kind of get into that a little bit because I have studied all of these things relating to the individuals as well as the police action. So hopefully.
Right. Nice. Now, hopefully you give me a date in August and we coming back. Hey, man, another great show. I just want to thank God for giving me the platform. I just want to thank the people for supporting me. I just want to thank people for believing in me. I want to continue to do God's work. I want to continue to help people. I want to continue to receive my blessings from helping people. I just want everybody to be good, man. Happy Father's Day to all. I love you guys. Please grab your kids up, man, and sit down and have daily dialogue with your kids. Matter of fact, I challenge you guys to do it today. It's Father's Day. A lot of you guys are with your kids, man. Just have a what you call a campfire, a bonfire, something, man, and just sit down and talk to them. Or better yet, on Father's Day, just listen to them, because saving our kids and saving our youth is going to come with them. Please don't allow nobody else to save your kids. Please, it's nobody else's job but yours. And if you don't have the capacity to do it, then allow somebody that's close to your family. But let it work from the family first, and then outside figures later. This is the Archie Beslow Radio Show. Let's figure it out. Thank you once again for listening to WL 95.9 FM, 1450 AM, WLDCnews.com, where information is power. I thank you. I love the Lord, and I love you guys. See you next week. Let's stay up.
Good job, young man. Always a pleasure. Always.
From the most powerful city in the world, you're listening to WOL News Talk 1450 AM and 95.9 FM.
2018.
Thank you, Facebook. Hey, Brother Ferguson said, you know Lloyd Ferguson, pretty regular.
Lloyd Ferguson, top of the evening to you, young man. That's all right.
All right, y'all. Hey, thank you once again. Thank you, next week, another Dynamite show. Next week. Talk to you. Peace. Love you all. Thank you.